What do I want? It's a question that everyone eventually has to ask themselves. The key motivator for every action taken. The cause behind every effect. So, what do I want? I want to go to a sporting event in every major venue. I want to grow within my relationships with my friends and my family. I want the freedom to create without the fear of failure. I want to dream without being hindered by reality. I want to chase new passions, new experiences, and new goals. I want OldMilk to branch out of the box and try new things. I'm accomplishing some of these goals right now, and I know what I need to do to achieve the rest of them. However, the one thing you should take away from this commercial is, I want you to buy OldMilk merch.
People there to try to like get into some sort of game at least.
Yeah, no, like I played on Thursday, and it was the first game I played, it was trash because when you work out and then you don't have an understanding of your strength at all. So with me, when I work out, because I don't understand the strength, I don't understand how much effort I have to put into things. So all my jump shots were hitting the front of the rim and just going and just like bouncing out. So one time I airballed and I asked everybody on the court, I'm like, am I jumping? And everyone like, no, you're not jumping. It's like, oh, like okay. So I should probably, this is something I have to commit to memory to jump. But no, it was fun. I got buckets. I hit a game winning shot,
Yeah.
Nothing too out of the ordinary.
It's crazy when you're playing a lot consistently, and obviously it doesn't compare, but like it's funny when we watch guys on TV and their shots are falling and you're like, oh, he doesn't have it. His legs are dead. And then like you play a couple days in a row and you're like, it's not, like I said, it's not the same, but you're like, damn, I kind of like, I can't feel my legs at all.
Like I feel like Jason Tatum in Game 6.
Right. It's like, oh, my legs are made of cement. This is great.
God.
This is awesome.
How do you feel about the Red Sox starting to win and still not being able to touch the Yankees?
Hey, the Red Sox have a crazy month coming up. They play Cleveland. They've taken 2 or 3 from Cleveland, Chicago, Toronto, Tampa, the Yankees, the Yankees before the All-Star break or something like that.
I'm very close to giving up on Chicago. Because it's too many injuries in the first place. I think they have like 15 guys on the IL for some form or fashion. And also a lot of them, like the pitching is just not where it's supposed to be. They're starting to hit really well, but also the defense isn't where it's supposed to be either.
They have the worst manager in the MLB. Yeah,
like the buttons that should be pressed are not being pressed right now, and it's disappointing because I expected this team to be I didn't expect them to be the best in the league. I didn't expect them to I expected them to win the division though. Is what I expected them to do, and I mean they still have a chance. And I guess maybe out of nowhere, if there's a stroke of luck and everyone gets healthy, they will. But I don't know. We'll see. But speaking of Chicago, this is the Cat Podcast, episode 310. That is Taylor McLeod in Brooklyn Dodgers hat over there. I am Nate Sperlin. Thank you for watching on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and more. Do us a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. You don't have to do it now, but at some point, because we're talking Lupe Fiasco. It's your weekly tour through hip hop. That being said, Taylor, how are you doing today?
Good. Can't complain about anything really. This album was refreshing to hear at the end of the week. I mean, last week we got a surprise Drake album, and before that we had talked about Kendrick and Jack Harlow and all these artists who have such a high profile at this point. And so just to get a real concise hip hop record from Lupe was nice.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of what I expected to get last week with Joey Badass almost, but it just came this week from an artist who's kind of like pulled away from the whole machine.
Yeah.
At least that's what it feels like.
On some of the track, I think. Well, before we get into it, we're talking about Lupe Fiasco's Drill Music in Zion, 10 tracks, 41 minutes long, featuring one feature who appears on 3 songs, Naraya. I think also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out all the Old Milk content at oldmilk.co. Check out the Old Milk Spins playlist on Spotify and YouTube. All right. That being said, I think the whole album is basically just a commentary on the status of hip hop right now. I think that when you look at some of these songs like Precious Things, on Phonem for sure is obviously like um the one is the best track, has the best verse of the year in my opinion. I'm gonna make that case later, but it's just the summary, I guess, of the 9 or 8 tracks that come before it. Lupe Fiasco, as always, has his sister reciting a poem to open up his album. He's done that many times. But I think that when you look at Precious Things and you look at how he's talking about the music industry using a metaphor of his hands, and he's basically talking about how the basic story is I'm trying to reach out to you guys and I'm trying to get an okay for my ideas and stuff like that. And y'all are basically saying like we don't like we don't want to talk to you anymore. We don't want to engage with you anymore. And that's kind of interesting because understanding Lupe Fiasco's career and understanding how he's an artist with 2 classics, Food and Liquor and The Cool are 2 classics, are the 2 classics. And understanding how he also had a phase where the industry was trying to make him into the rap equivalent of a pop star, if that makes sense, with Lasers and him not really liking that album and him having some issues with that. Additionally, on his last album on Atlantic, I believe, or was it Atlantic? On his last album on Atlantic, it's the one album that I consider in his whole almost flawless discography trash because it was just bad. It was just bad music. But at the same time, you know what artists do sometimes in terms of I'm trying to get out this label. You want an album here, just take the shit and accept it and I'm gone. Like leave me alone. That's basically what that album was, in my opinion, or from my perspective at least. So I kind of let that slide. He gave us Drugs Wave, and that was amazing. And now he comes back. He gave us House during COVID. Just like three. It was a short EP. I don't remember how many tracks were on it exactly. But him doing that, and then now coming back with Drill Music in Zion, it where he can fully speak freely on how he feels about the music industry and how he feels about what's going on in hip hop. It's Lupe Fiasco. He's one of the best. He's one of the best rappers of all time. It's not debatable to me. The level of metaphor and the level of double entendre in his music, as well as his ability to not waste bars or not waste lines at all, is something that is only matched by a few people in hip hop history. Period. Um, Before I give it off, I give it to you, Taylor. The last thing I'll say is this album is the perfect reason why rappers who just rap about who just rap about the things they did and don't really have any lessons for the listener to take away from it or anything else but just a story, or not even a story because sometimes the storytelling isn't even there either, but just about what you're expecting, what you think rap fans want to listen to in terms of I did this, I did this, I did this, and then like I have all this, I have all this, and like that's why that doesn't move me as much because you have artists like Lupe Fiasco and Kendrick Lamar and Vince Staples and Saba that they still give you that from time to time, but at the same time, there's always a calculated reason why something, a word, instrumental is placed where it's placed, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think where a lot of artists and a lot of rappers have either they've gone one of 2 ways. Either they go the route of mastering the current game, where it's I'm gonna put 20 tracks on a record. I'm gonna have 3 that hit with streaming, 3 songs that make this thing go platinum, and then potentially later on like brag about the numbers to be like, oh, I'm mastering the new industry, how things work now. And then you have the other side that goes, well, that like pretty much like, well, that sucks. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm doing this for the real, whatever. And I think that on this record specifically, that Lupe Fiasco does a good job of kind of splitting that down the middle, where it doesn't, because of the packaging of the record, including the cover and the use of poetry and different interludes and like sung choruses and stuff, where it's like still very much a cohesive album that's just nice to listen to, even not looking to the double entendres or anything past, just throwing it on in your headphones and listening to it. And with every listen, you start to get pulled in a little bit more and listen a little bit more. And I think that's the mark of a really good album. But like I said, where some rappers go one way and they master the game and brag about that, and then some others go the exact opposite way, I think this is a really nice way to split it down the middle, because I've seen a lot of complaints about rappers rapping about rapping. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've seen that, where it's like, oh, well, they're just rapping about rapping. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like part of the reason that I started liking this music in the first place when I was young is hearing like the passion that a lot of artists have for this art form. And it's not like, I don't understand the people who are like, well, I don't want to hear you rapping about rapping. It's like, if that's not your lane, that's not your lane. That's fine. But for like the you need the artists who pay
Yeah.
homage to the art form on every record, on every song, on every album, and not in a corny way. And I think that what makes this project a really nice, breath of fresh air is that there's commentary on each side of the industry and each side of the game right now, but it's coming from a place of like love for hip hop, and not a place of like, hip hop is dead, I'm done with this. It's like, no, the heart of it is still there, but everything else around it is clouding that. So I think that this is like a really nice focus on the heart of it while including that commentary around it. But there's still the signature, like, Lupe Fiasco is a hip hop head. Like, he's
Yeah.
a, like, this is not, I wouldn't say everything, because it's not everything to everybody, but like, this is what he does for almost 2 decades now. This is what he does. He is, like you said, one of the best rappers of all time. And he shows that in a way that's paying homage to the industry, not the industry, paying homage to the music, while pointing out the glaring, negatives that come along with it.
No, for sure. I want to talk about On Phone Them, the last track, the outro track, I guess you would call it, on this project. Rappers die too much. That's it. That's the verse. Is the verse of the year. It's all you could get out of it's all you could want out of a verse of the year. It's straight to the point. It's something that makes you think. In the second verse, when he comes in on the second verse, he says, "I just wanted that to be short." He explains the reason why it's so short in the first place, and it's basically says that, well, he's rapping, but I'm translating it, I guess, if that, sure, why not? He's rapping. What he's basically trying to say in the second verse is that I wanted that to just rock, and I just wanted you to just reflect on that a little bit, because it's true. It's something that is being. It seems like it's something that's increasing, which is alarming especially when you think about Lil TJ getting shot in New Jersey, just this week before the album even comes out. It's like, what's really going on in the world where it's just so dangerous to be a rapper right now? Obviously, there's a lot of things we could point to, and this isn't the episode for that, but I just appreciated the timeliness of it, the precision in which he does that. He does continue to go on in the song, and he talks about how he wishes that rappers lied in their verses, referencing one, lying in their verses because some of the stuff that they rap about is bad shit to do in the first place. Additionally, because what we're seeing right now with the Gunna and the Young Thug court cases, is that they're trying to use lyrics in court, and that's something that's becoming more popular around the country for DAs to try to do. And additionally, in the song, Lupe Fiasco recognizes that he's a part of the problem too. In one of the lines, he's like, I'm both sides of the problem. I'm P, sometimes the problem. P in my from what I'm translating, P is a reference to Gunna and Young Thug pushing P, all that stuff going on. Just that little insert of that in
Yeah.
that verse, in that song is it's just a little things like that that people don't really catch unless you understand how, when you're listening to a Lupe Fiasco album, you have to be on your P's and Q's, because he's just going to say something and it's going to go over your head, and then you're probably not going to catch it unless you're on, unless you're engaged and actively listening to what he's saying, if that makes sense. But On Phone Numb is the best song on the album. It's my favorite song. Verse of the year on it might be one of the most impactful tracks of this year. And Taylor, what do you think about it?
I think it's great. I like that verse is the first one.
Mhm.
So it's not a situation where you hear two long verses and then the third one is that and then it just rides out. I think because it's the first one, it gives it more time, like you said, for you to just sit with it and think about it. And because if it's at the end, it's just like a little outro, like just a last, like, I mean, and that, like, it would be a good closing statement, you know what I mean? But I think similar to this whole album just being 10 songs, I think it gives you a chance to really like think about it, because it's not like it goes, all right, that one verse or one line verse straight back into a hook or straight back into a chorus. That, like, it's the whole space for like a 16 bar verse is there.
Mhm.
So it's just music. It doesn't give you a chance to just make it another bar. Like it's fully there, and then he explains it, so it gives you more time, or not more time, but it just makes you think about it more. And regardless of how things are right now, I think there's something to be said for not just rap music, but any music that actually makes you think about something.
Mhm.
Because obviously it's like the best thing in the world to just put on, like, turn up music, and you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's like, I don't think anyone would really debate that, like, that is one of like the best feelings when that one song hits and you're like, all right, let's go. Like, this is my song. Like, this
21,
puts me
21
in
Savage on Jimmy Cooks is that for me
right.
right now.
And it puts you in a different place. This
Mhm.
is more like, I think there's something to be said though for music that makes you just sit and not necessarily go completely big brain, because it's really upfront. It's straightforward. It's rappers die too much. That's the verse. It's not like there are no double entendres there. There are no anything there. It's right. It gives it right to you, and you have to deal with it. And I think that's creative and coming from a place that Lupe Fiasco is in, where he's been in the game for 2 decades. He's a professor at Harvard. Like, I think it just comes from a very well educated and it comes from a good place. It's from the right source. It's not from the wrong source. And that message can never really be from the wrong source, but I think it weighs more when it's a guy who's seen all the sides of this game. He's been linked with some of the biggest artists, but also will just come back and do a project that's really bare bones with soundtrack, and just give it to you, where he painted the album cover and all that. So I think it comes off really well from him. And yeah, I think it's a perfect encapsulation of this whole project, because it's also nice, and it's part of the hip hop legacy for, and it kind of comes back to the rapping about rapping. I mean, all the biggest songs, not biggest, but all like the best, like, realist hip hop songs, they're commentaries on what's going on either in the world or in the game. And it's not always like, oh, I'm like better than this rapper, I'm crazy. Like, sometimes it's just like pointing it out, and it's not like it used to be a badge of honor for like to get, like, not name dropped necessarily, but like to get talked about, to get what you're doing talked about. And there's not a lot of specifics on this record, but I just think I think that line, that song is a really good microcosm of what this album is. And it's like a very nice commentary on the current state of things, without, and it's not coming from a place of, and I think J. Cole kind of comes from this place sometimes, or at
Mhm.
least maybe 5 years ago he did, where it's this elevated spot of like taking shots down at the rap game. It's like throughout this project, Lupe acknowledges that he's part of it. He's been a part of it for a long time. And it's like it's like a first person account, and it's not this like, oh, I can step outside of this and like tell all these young rappers or whatever how to do this and how not to do this and why they look this way or whatever. I just think it comes from a good place, and because of who he is and because of his track record. So I think the song is just it's a smaller example of what the whole project is and what it means.
Made this album in 3 days. Miss Mural, the storytelling on Miss Mural also is something that needs to be talked about. I mean, he's been doing this over his past. Well, no, that's not. He started doing this first started off with Mural on Tetzel and Youth, a track that's like 8 minutes long and there's no hooks and it's just him rapping. I believe he does that. He also does that on Drogus Wave, and he does it here on Drill Music and Zion. And just the ability to essentially rap for 3, 4, 5 minutes without needing a hook in it, still making sense in it, still being engaging, still being something that the listener wants to keep listening to, even almost to the point where when it's over, it's like, that's all you got? A 5-minute song in 2022 making someone react that way in it within itself it's obviously an anomaly. It's obviously impressive. But the fact that he's made this into a whole series of songs, the same way people package mixtapes, you have I don't know, Savage Mode 2, like just making it just in the same packaging as that is impressive to me. What did you think about Miss Mural?
I think it's amazing, and I think that it still happens. And I feel like I come from this place sometimes where I sound like, or I think older than I am.
Mhm.
And it's like I just like it when there's continuity between projects, and I like it when you can find the threads between projects. So like what you're saying, where like it's a series of tracks and they all bleed together. But like you said, at the end of it, you're like, all right, I want to hear more
Mhm.
from this perspective, and it evolves every time. And I think that the commentary on the world of art and everything, I think sometimes that helps contextualize the shots that get sent at the rap game a lot, where
Mhm.
it's not just this one genre that is dealing with this. I mean, it's across everything. It's across like music, visual media, visual art, all this. And I think that this whole record doesn't come off to me as like a dusty hip hop album. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like a super backpacky, super whatever. It's a commentary album, and I think that where On Phone Them and a couple of other songs are very specifically about things that happen inside of rap. I think Miss Mural broadens the conversation to contextualize that and point at some other spots that are dealing with the same issues but don't always get the same attention or same negative attention that rap gets.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite tracks on Drum Music and Zion?
Let me pull the whole. I like, I mean, track 2, I know it's like the goatee fish thing where you can
Mhm.
pronounce goatee as fish. So I don't know if it's goatee or if it's fish, but I like the second track. I like Miss Mural. I really like Seattle, the second to last track, and then On Phone Them.
The way he closes out the album is amazing. Because even
Yeah,
drill music, the track Drill Music in Zion before Seattle is really, really good too. All of them are really, really good, but I think that
yeah.
it starts to pick up in Drill Music in Zion, and then it goes into all the other tracks, Seattle and Off Phonum. So Seattle, obviously one of my favorites. We didn't really talk about it much, but it is one of my favorites. One of our favorites. On Phonum too, one of our favorites. Precious Things, I really like. I like how I like the metaphor in it, and I like the overall message of it. This is what I expect from a Lupe Fiasco album. I'm very, very satisfied, and I'm not being paid to say that. I'm just a very satisfied customer, Lupe Fiasco. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. This is episode 310 of the Cat Podcast. That is Taylor McLeod. I am Nate Sperlin. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Do us a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out the Old Milk Spins playlist on Spotify and YouTube, and check out all the Old Milk content on oldmilk.co. If you're protesting because of the bullshit that's going on with the Supreme Court, please do so safely. That being said, we'll be back when hip hop tells us to be, and we are out. Oh, that was really quiet. I hope you can hear that.